Asking for help is important because, let's face it, life can be challenging, especially in today's world. And this is evident as many of us struggle with our jobs as we try to find work that has both purpose and financial security. For some, our relationships are in turmoil, whether it be with partners, family, or friends. Our sense of community and society as a whole. A combination of social, economic, and environmental instability has led to most of us struggling to deal with the pressures of daily life. In fact, studies show that around 90% of us are stressed out on a daily basis, and almost half are chronically stressed. Now just pause for a moment and take in the absolute enormity of that. Next time you feel as if you're the only one who's not cruising through life, just remember these figures. It seems that as our lives become increasingly more hectic, our bodies and minds and emotions just aren't keeping up. Not only is our mental health suffering, with frightening numbers of us suffering, anxiety, depression, confusion, and burnout, but also our physical health is too. And this is probably most evident by the fact that around 8 out of 10 of us are even struggling to maintain a healthy weight, let alone stay in good physical shape. Unfortunately, as many of us feel as if we are failing in our roles as partners and parents and friends and as people. And we often end up blaming ourselves. And so, despite the resistance we carry on, driven by the belief that you just need to try harder, all the whilst making out to everyone else that everything is all good. On the surface, when really we are sometimes only really hanging on by a single thread. Because of this, now more than ever, it's important to ask for help, and especially so if we feel powerless to turn things around. Asking for help is simply the action of asking others to help you to do or achieve something. With help from others, life becomes so much easier than if we try to do everything on our own. As such, help could be given in the form of physical work, a helping hand, or it could be help in the form of providing advice, support, or even encouragement. Now that you know why asking for help is so important, I just want to address some important points when it comes to asking for help. And the first of these is to acknowledge that you can't do everything on your own. And I say that because many of us have been conditioned from an early age to not embarrass ourselves by showing signs of weakness, including asking for help, and have rather been encouraged to just keep our head down and, getting on with it. And many of us don't like asking for help because it means admitting that we are not in control of our life, something which most of us don't like to admit, especially when we live in a world that warrants control in our career, relationships, children, finances, our body, and everything in between. Not being in control is very damaging to our ego, reputation, and how we define our self-worth. It can lead to emotional eating, self-esteem issues, panic attacks, anxiety, depression, or even worse. However, the reality is that we can't do it all on our own. If we could do everything on our own, then we wouldn't need anyone else. But this is simply not true. And that's because the last time I checked, we only had 2 hands, not 102. And we can only be at one place at one time. Sure, there are lots of people who try to do everything on their own, but it very likely leads to overload and, worse still, total burnout. And so the first thing to do when it comes to asking for help is to acknowledge that you can't do everything yourself. Together, we are better. And for this reason, we all need one another. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but rather an integral part of being human. Next, it's important to determine what areas of your life you feel the most resistance in, be it physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. In other words, which areas do you most feel stuck and need the most help with? For example, you might be feeling resistance around consistently putting healthy meals on a table each night for your kids, and you may like some help to create a meal prepping routine, something I help people with all the time. Or you may be struggling to maintain a healthy weight and would like to help, like some help with the best strategy for losing and maintaining a healthy weight. Also, something that I help people with all the time. Or you may require help with anything else. You can write down your answers, so have a think about that. Next, it's important to realize that help only comes to those who ask for it. There's a saying that says, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. What this means is that if you do not ask for help, then you will very seldom receive it. So remember to always ask for help, because most people are so busy with their own lives that they may have no idea that you're struggling with something. This is especially difficult when it comes to your thoughts, as people are not mind readers. And so if you, like most people, are fighting a battle inside your head that no one else knows anything about, then let others know so that they can help you. Even the people close to you can often struggle to understand what this might be, as well as how best they can support you. In psychology, this is called the illusion of transparency, which terms the mistake in our beliefs that our thoughts and our feelings and our needs are really obvious to other people. A belief which is totally and utterly false. So never sit around and wait for someone else to notice your needs and then spontaneously offer to help you with it, because it will never ever happen. Instead, you've got to be proactive, and if you need help, then simply ask for it. Okay? Once you have identified what you most need help with in your life, including the need to actually ask for help, now it's time to think of who can actually help you with this. Could a family member or friends help you out? Or could you maybe seek professional help? Or are there any meetup groups or organizations that offer help in the area that you most need it? You know, some brief examples of people who you could ask, for help with certain things could include, asking your friends for emotional support if you're facing challenges in your health, your work, your marriage, or anything else. It could include asking your partner to help you with the household chores, to look after the kids. It could include consulting a psychologist to help you with your mental health. It could include consulting a financial advisor to help you with your financial concerns. Or basically anything else which helps you to lighten your load and helps you to better cope, including outsourcing anything that you need help with. So when it comes to your total health and well-being, just remember that I'm here to help you with all of that. All you need to do is reach out and ask. So when you get a second, take a moment to write down some ideas of who could help you and with what. Just a little tip, in order to ensure that people are more inclined to help you with whatever it is you need, be very specific about the help you want and why. Vague, indirect requests for help are not effective in helping you both as far as what your needs are and also in regards to whether the person you are asking can facilitate your request for help. My next tip is to ask for help now, because the sooner you ask for help, the sooner you can move forward and get on with and enjoy life. I know this because I coach people all of the time who eventually come to see me after a lifetime of struggling to look after, their health and well-being in a way that they should have done so. Often they are in such terrible shape, both physically and mentally, that it's difficult to undo the many years of neglect. Sure, if they had a perfect body and excellent mental health, then I would say that they didn't need any help. But the fact that they didn't tells me that they should have sought help much sooner than they did. In other words, the sooner you get help, whether it's to do with your health or anything else, the better. So don't wait until you're 100 pounds overweight and get diabetes and even a heart attack. Don't wait until you get that cancer diagnosis. Don't wait until your marriage is on the rocks and you're filing for divorce. Don't wait until you're suffering from mental health problems or until any problem you have becomes an emergency. Ask for help now. Also, when asking for help, refrain from doing so over email or text. Why? Not only is this impersonal, but in-person requests for help are 30 times more likely to get a yes response than a request made by email or text. So pick up the phone and use a phone how it's supposed to be used. Or even better, do it face to face. Okay. Also, ensure to avoid disclaimers, apologies, and bribes. For example, how often have you said something along the lines of, I am so sorry that I have to ask you for this, or I really hate bothering you with this, or if I had any way of doing this without your help, I would. Not only does this make the other person feel uncomfortable in helping you, but it also makes them feel less satisfied in providing help. And while it is perfectly acceptable to pay strangers to do things for you, you need to be very careful when it comes to incentivizing your friends and co-workers. When you have a relationship with someone, helping one another is actually a natural part of that relationship. It's how we show one another that we actually care. And if you start to introduce incentives or payments into that, it can start to feel like it isn't a relationship, it's a transaction. And this is experienced as distancing, which makes people less likely to help you. Sure, if you want to buy them a spontaneous gift to show your appreciation and gratitude after they help you, then that's perfectly fine, go for it. But it's different. And my final tip after you have asked someone for help and they have helped you is to ensure that you actually follow up with them afterwards. And there's a common misconception that what is rewarding about helping is the act of helping itself. But this is simply not true. What is rewarding about helping is knowing that your help has actually landed, that it's had a positive impact on a person's life, and that the help given was indeed effective and it actually helped you to get the very thing that you wanted. So take the time to do this. Take the time to tell your parents that the time they gave to babysitting your kids allowed you to recharge your batteries and be a better parent again. Take the time to tell your partner that the support they gave you really, made it possible for you to get through that tough time, and so forth. Look, the bottom line is that it's not easy to ask for help. We are all a little bit afraid to do it. It makes us feel vulnerable. But the reality of modern day life is that nobody does it alone. Nobody succeeds in a vacuum. More so than ever, we actually do have to rely on other people, on their support and collaboration in order to be successful. So when you need help, ask for it out loud. And when you do it in a way that increases your chances that you will get a yes response. And in a way that makes the other person feel awesome for having helped you, because you both deserve it. So do you ask for help if you need it?
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to learn more about the other essential attributes of staying in your best shape. And until next time, watch what you chew, do what you need to do, and always live true.